I watched the movie again last night, and as somebody who uh, sort of knows nothing other than how to do my own hair, I know nothing that just do this. That's all I know how to do.
It's working. It's good.
No, thank you. I guess the first question that I have is, obviously, I'm sure everyone is asking about the black and white hair. I wanted to know specifically first, though, when you're doing it on like a little girl at the beginning of the movie, how do you avoid making it like just look like a wig on a little girl?
Oh, well, wigs on children is always, as soon as it happens, you're like, oh, no.
It's like the biggest struggle I can imagine.
No one wants to wig a child. It's just awful. But the thing is, we had, had them bespoke made for her so that it fits so tightly to her. And because I think what was on our side as well is, because of the slightly punky element, even from the beginning, it's kind of messy and kind of, playful. And when there's all those moments where she's in front of the headmaster, we played with different styles. And so, but it's never something that in a script that you're looking for.
You don't like reject a script because you're just like, oh, I have to do this one. There's no children I can put a wig on. Okay. I guess sort of in sort of a general sense, I was curious how Emma Stone's character really, how she would maybe transform herself makeup wise from before she becomes Cruella to when she is Cruella. Like I love in the scene where she's in her flat with her two roommates, and they see her for the first time and she says hello boys, and there's like it looks like her skin is paler. I was curious, just in a general sense, about her character's like makeup and how she presents like her face to the world.
Well, it's good you notice that, actually, because when we very first see her, when she walks in at that moment when they're having breakfast, the makeup is much paler, the eyes are much darker. It's a really powdery finish on the white, because I wanted it to be like a mask. Like she's hiding Estella to create Cruella and to hide from the Baroness. So it needs to be like a mask. It's kind of like a tool of deception, really. I always talk about it like that, because so when we first see it like that, if you compare that makeup to the end Cruella look when she's in Hellman Hall, you see much more of Emma's skin at that point, and you see much more of who she actually looks like. So she's not hiding anymore. So I think that really kind of determined the makeup. And at that point in the film, and that point for Estella, she's hiding herself. So she's using wigs and makeup to hide, basically. So all those early looks are like masks. The feather mask, the future is a mask. The garbage thing is all across her eyes like a mask. The silhouette of her hair changes all the time. So there's nothing that's regular about the look that would make you go, that's
there's something about it that this is gonna be a really random reference, but it reminded me of, like, I remember when I was younger and there were all those like really campy, colorful, over the top Batman movies, and when there were like characters who were like in front of Batman and in front of Bruce Wayne, and they, have the same facial structure, but their face looks completely different. That's what it reminded me of in a little bit. Maybe that's just the point of reference that I have.
No, I love that.
Like if you see like Jim Carrey is almost like in drag to a certain extent with the way that he's done up. And that sort of reminded me of how she is whenever she like pops into, shove it in.
Well, exactly. I mean, you have to kind of, there's an element of suspending belief, because, she's not full of prosthetics. She's just in makeup and wigs.
Yeah.
But like, as you said about drag, that was absolutely a massive, massive reference. I did a deep dive into Drag Race, because I was like, I love that moment where they go, oh, right, let's see them for the first time. And then you go back and they're all taking their makeup off and taking their wigs off. And you're like, oh my gosh, is that him? No idea. And that really heavily influenced me, that you could do all of that with makeup. And so there's something very draggy about her. And I love that.
Oh my God, this interview just took a turn and I love it. Don't even.
Oh, we could talk for hours on Drag Race.
Oh, hours and hours. Oh my God. Can't. Let me get back to my professional track and get so I was curious, this may seem like a smaller part, but it reminded me so much of the time period, and it's not on one of the main characters, but the character of Gerald. And especially the first time we see him when she's trying to get him to notice her to, design a window. I love his like dome hair. And I was curious about what about this particular time period you really like or you really responded to in terms of like hair and makeup.
Well, I think because we were in 1977, you're very into that period, so you can really go for it in terms of the 70s with what you're creating on the world around you. And if someone said, and you can almost go a bit cliche with that because you're really deep into the 70s, so you can have that very kind of obvious look, but also what was really interesting in that period is that punk was exploding at that time as well, and punk's such a kind of borrowing of everything that punk was borrowing from Edwardian, so and so I didn't feel like any period was kind of out of bounds. That's why at one point she's got an 18th century wig on her head when she gets out of the garbage truck. And I kind of tried to pinch things from different eras of things she'd seen. So that moment is mimicking the Baroness because she saw 18th century wigs when she was a child, right, in those kind of open scenes. And so I just really used every bit of every era that we could. Even in that 18th century ball, they've got very 1960s makeup on. And because it's Disney and because it's fun and there's no, and I didn't feel like there was any real shackles on me. Whatever the look was, we kind of heightened it.
Yeah. And Estella, as like a designer, more so than the Baroness, Estella seems like somebody who would be more open to breaking structure and breaking the rules. I mean, that goes with like the punk element of the movie, but she wouldn't feel confined in her designs so much as like the Baroness would. So I can totally see her being like, I'm going to take this shade of makeup and do it with this like silhouette of my hair or something like that. You mentioned I wanted to ask about this look. I keep just saying garbage dress. Because that look, it's like, it's sort of like hard to talk about this movie in a weird way, just because like every single look is so stunning and everything is so beautiful. But I love the colors in that with like the pale pinks and the blues and the glitter. What can you sort of tell me about that particular look? Because that was one of my favorites.
I think Jenny, our costume designer, obviously, she had, I think she talked to me about, because it's a collection that Estella steals or Cruella steals, it's the Baroness's old spring summer collection. So the colors are all pinks and blues and pale kind of summery colors. And we had a room where we were based, and the whole room was filled with this dress for so long because it's massive. So I kept walking past it and seeing it. And so then when I thought I still wanted to do something mask-like, but I thought I wanted to bring those colors into it. And also because I think the look before is possibly the future. It was so harsh. It's a motorbike, it's kind of leathers, and it's just a black band across her face. I thought, well, if she's going to do something and almost shapeshift again, let's do something completely different. So let's go glitters and light colors and jewels, and so it was just to do something completely different. I kind of just wanted to keep playing, really.
The future look, which I think that was the first time that, not the first time, but it was like when the pictures of that first dropped, it was like, what is this movie?
I know.
And it was just like, what is going on? And I think the costumes and the makeup, they're so because it has to create like a cohesive look. And I love that so much. And I was curious like how much trial and error went into that look, because it is boom right across her face. Like did you have to work with a stencil first and just have to keep like spraying something out? Like how much?
We never ever tested it on her.
Really? Okay.
First time that went on her was when we shot it. We shot so quickly in such a quick time, and we didn't get her until quite soon towards shoot. There was just no time to get everything ready before. So as we were going along, we were kind of making this, and I myself and my assistant tested it on our trainee in the makeup truck. So we made the stencil from the font and then placed it on where we want the positioning of the letters. But the first time it went on Emily was the first time it was shot on. So it kind of was like, is this going to work? There was lots of those moments. There was lots of those like on the edge of your seat. Oh, if this doesn't work, I don't know what my next plan is. And then luckily you kind of went, oh, this is good.
That's great. Oh my God. Even more excited, like more excited that was, oh my God. That's kind of punk rock in a way. You just have to do it and see what happens.
All of them, the garbage one, the one on top of the car with the crown, none of them were tested on her ever. They were all first time. We created those makeups once. That was it.
That blows my mind. Holy shit. I'm just looking at my list of all the things I want to ask you, like specific looks and everything. I guess sort of on the flip side of that, since we've been talking about Estella so much, I love I guess the Baroness is a little bit in drag herself, like those like hair loafs at the black and white ball, which just sort of I just love it so much. I love the shape of her hair all the time. I was curious, like, did you want to go more structured with her and just make it over the top since she's more like rigid with her own rules and how she designs? Talk to me about the other Emma, I guess.
Yeah, so Naomi Dunn, who looked after her, she's worked with Emma lots of times before. So in the same way that I have a relationship with Emma Stone, they have such trust, and so she allowed her to play as well. But when I first met Naomi and talked about what I wanted for the Baroness, I always had this thing that if you had her behind like a kind of white sheet and you saw a silhouette of her, you would know exactly who it is. You wouldn't know who Cruella is because it'd be so mad. Everything would be so changing, but there would be a structure to the Baroness. And I feel like the whole way through the film, we're creating Cruella, whereas the Baroness knows who she is. It's a perfected look. She created her look years ago. And that again is massively drag. It's like RuPaul changes colors and wigs and that kind of thing, but there's a look, and
yeah, she has a silhouette.
Yeah, and she knows what works, and she's not gonna. And the same with, if you look at, like, I don't know, I'm going on my drag deep dive here, but Bianca Del Rio is like, that is a look, and so there was a definite drag element to both of them, and so it was just about changing structure, but always having it tight, sculpted, done, not messy. Lines are kind of neat and together.
You know what's sad, that in my head, as soon as you say like RuPaul talking about a silhouette, that I can hear her say, I think it's season 4, season 5, or because they're talking, they're doing the judging, and she says, figure out your silhouette, perfect it, and then just create all of your looks out of that.
Yeah. That's what the Baroness did. That's where I was at with the Baroness.
Okay.
The words of RuPaul ringing in my head as we were doing.
I love that. I think we're running close to time, but a character that I want to ask really briefly about is Anita. Just because she's outside of the fashion world, she is a person of color. Every time I see her, I get like the point of references with her. What can you tell me quickly about that character?
I just felt like she would be fashionable, but fashionable within the world that she's in. She is a journalist that works for a big newspaper. She's mixing with the right people, so she knows what to wear and what, but it's never kind of, every time we see her, she's in a professional sense. So it's kind of, but all the colors that were used on her are very 70s, right down to nail varnish. Everything was I think there was a 70s nail varnish that I found that they used in the 70s that is still the same color now. So everything was very anchored in where the year was. So that because she's mixing with those people. And I'd seen, I don't know who it is, I'm sure I've got it in my notes somewhere, but I'd seen a reference of a journalist or a news anchor or something like that from around the time. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's Anita. And she was all over my, she was all over my wall. And I knew I always wanted to do a fro. I wanted her to have a really big out fro. So yeah.
That look is so specific in my head. Like, even when I thought of the movie, outside of seeing it, I knew like who that character was, like how she looks and how her hair is sculpted. It's such a specific point of reference that I love.
And I kind of thought about them as Disney characters too. Like if they were made into dolls, would they all have silhouette?
Oh yeah.
Would you see them all, know who they are? So everyone looks different.
That's so cool. Okay. Well, I feel like we need to talk about Drag Race later, but I will let you go. Thank you so much for your time. I think the work is exquisite. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day.